Right, we have several lineup of discussions this morning on the program. We'll be talking about the May Day. But before we go there, let's go to North Korea so we can have a perspective of what's going on there with the latest happening there. Now, the threat of a nuclear war from North Korea has increased after the United States and South Korea wrapped up their annual large-scale military drills on Sunday.
The USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier group arrived in waters near the Korean peninsula and began exercises with the South Korean Navy late on Saturday. Tensions on the Korean peninsula have been running sky high for weeks now, with signs that North Korea might be preparing a sixth nuclear weapon test. But Washington has refused to rule out a military strike, a move which North Korea promises will have dire consequences.
Now, meanwhile, President Trump has downplayed the significance of Saturday's small missile launch by North Korea. And he's also undecided about the possibility of a military action against Pyongyang in response to another nuclear test. Now, some U.S. senators have also been reacting to the situation.
I'm encouraged with what we heard about steps that are being taken both to engage our allies around the world and to make this China's problem, because China really is the single largest supporter of the North Korean regime, and without Chinese support, we're not going to be successful in any diplomatic effort to rein them in.
The best way to minimize conflict with North Korea is for Kim Jong-un to understand unequivocally that if he launches an attack on the United States or our allies, or if he attempts to go forward with nuclear tests, to go forward with placing a nuclear warhead in an ICBM that could reach the American mainland, that the repercussions will be very significant.
All right, joining us right now from Belgium is a global affairs policy analyst, Collins Nweke. Many thanks for joining us today, Collins, and happy May Day.
I wish you the same. Thank you so much.
Very well. Let's jump right into it. North Korea is digging in, and the U.S. won't back down. What gives?
Well, I think it's commendable that U.S., especially having somebody in the temperament and character of Donald Trump at the helm of affairs, has not actually, taken military action so far. That is commendable. He, in his own word, has actually said that diplomatic solution is his first preference, and I believe that the world is looking forward to actually working that part of diplomatic solution to the problem. If we also consider the statement made by the U.S. Secretary of State, calling on the UN to take actions, and China also waging in as the closest ally in that peninsula to North Korea, considering sanctions, just as well as the Senate of the United States considering sanction. You will see that it does look like the option of a military action is way back, on the agenda. Of course, no one will expect the United States to rule out military option completely. I think it's normal under the circumstances, but it is commendable that it is not being considered as a first option.
All right, tauntings and provocations from North Korea is not new at all. It's been on for several years now. But the reactions now from the United States, do you think the U.S. is overreacting to the tauntings from North Korea?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't look like they are reacting. I do think, in my personal opinion, and I believe that opinions are, rather divided on this. I believe that the reaction of the U.S., like I said, considering the gentleman on the helms of affairs, is rather measured. So I just hope that they will continue to walk the path of diplomacy. And there are signs that they want to do that. In some ways, I believe the U.S. is deliberately being on denial about how severe the threat is. As a matter of fact, it is even being contested that the ballistic missile test was a success. So yeah, it doesn't look like the reaction is just too much. No.
All right, talking about the options on the table, one of them is China reducing its relationship, so to speak, with North Korea, and it's been noticed now imports from North Korea to China has reduced by about 35%, really. But that hasn't deterred North Korea. What other options, what other sanctions can be put forward to curb what is going on there?
Yes, I believe that Chinese relationship is one that North Korea takes very, very seriously. And I believe that all other forms of bilateral support and relationship risks being cut down on. Take, for example, energy and other sort of personnel support. I think all of these would be jeopardized should North Korea continue to play the role of the bad guy in the neighborhood.
All right. One thing that by now China would have taken very decisive steps towards reducing the escalating tensions in the Korean Peninsula, but we don't seem to see that. But who really has the ears of Pyongyang amongst all the allies, the few allies he has?
That's a very good question. As a matter of fact, up until this latest provocation, one would say rather decisively that China is actually the closest ally of North Korea in that peninsula, and nothing tells me that has changed. So I believe that there is a little bit of a cat and mouse game here. And indeed, to some extent, it is being argued that China knows exactly what it's doing in terms of playing some smart international game here. As you know, Donald Trump, in the run-up to the election, during his campaign, was going about harassing everybody. North Korea, South Korea, even China itself. So China seem to be wanting to be one step ahead of the United States by way of saying, okay, let us see the extent to which you are going to play ball. And if you play ball pretty well, we can join you in making sure that North Korea is subdued. But they are not letting all their cards on the table at this moment. And I believe that is deliberate in diplomatic sense.
All right, we'll leave it there. Many thanks for your time and contribution on TVC Breakfast this morning. Collins Nweke, a global affairs policy analyst who joined us from Belgium. We'll move on now.
Well, let's go on a break and then we come back to dwell on our other topic for today. Stay with us.